Welcome back to this week's AMT Fresh Produce Market Report, proudly brought to you by Villa Crop Protection. Blueberry prices can stay on a lower level for the rest of this year, but likely start to improve again over the first 4 months of next year. We also saw higher demand and lower volumes that supported our vegetable markets that were and still is under severe pressure. All in this week's episode, so make sure to stay tuned. Over the past week, potato prices jumped by more than 10% to 49.38 per 10 kilogram bag. Tomato prices, however, dropped by 4% the past week to 9.28 per kilogram due to about 10% higher volumes reported on the markets. Onion prices remained in its steady downward trend, decreasing by 3% to 35.61 per 10 kilogram. Carrots traded 3% lower on 3.92 per kilogram. Peppers increased by 2% to 13.48. Cabbages jumped by about 9% to 1.50 per kilogram, while sweet potatoes increased by more than 12% to 6.53 per kilogram. Spinach increased from its very low level and increased by about 9% the past week to 2.32 per kilogram, while butternuts increased by 18% to 5.89. Pumpkins also showed a notable increase over the past week, increasing by about 12% to 4.86 per kilogram last week. Garlic prices, however, dropped to 39.40 on average, with local garlic now 32.82 and imported garlic on 68.90 per kilogram. Green beans decreased to 10.35 and cucumbers declined to 10.62 per kilogram. With world-class solutions like Masterlock, tailored for South African conditions, Villa helps you manage risk and increase productivity with research-backed confidence. There was definitely an improvement on the markets over the past week, with demand supporting most of these commodity prices. The exception, however, was onions, tomatoes and carrots that showed a significant increase in volumes and therefore couldn't benefit from this increased demand. Potatoes, however, increased even though we saw about 14% more volumes that were delivered on the markets last week. Luckily, most other volumes also dropped, which coupled with this high demand resulted in a more positive week on the markets. The expectation is that demand will stay elevated this coming week as well, which could help to stabilize this market that is very under pressure at the moment. Please leave us a comment if there is a specific commodity you'd also like us to discuss in next week's episode. Moving over to the fruit markets, however, bananas increased to 12.30 per kilogram and is about 11% lower than a year ago. Apples traded lower on 12.82, while pears dropped to 9.56 per kilogram. In the citrus market, oranges jumped to 9.12 per kilogram, lemons increased to 8.42, naartjies jumped to 13.21 and grapefruit decreased slightly to 8.77 per kilogram. Avocados, however, stayed sideways on 29.30 per kilogram, while table grapes fell sharply, trading 20% lower on 37.41 per kilogram. Pineapples increased to 11.95, blueberries dropped to 37.53 per kilogram, while watermelons dropped to 89 cents per kilogram last week. As expected, table grape prices dropped sharply the past week, with about 88% more volumes compared to the previous week reported. Grape prices are about 25% lower than last year this time, and it's due to a very good start to the season and volumes picking up fast. Expect these prices to dip further over the next month or so. The other market also under pressure now is blueberries. Current volumes on the markets are about 2% higher than a year ago, while prices traded about 7% lower year on year. Looking forward, we are expecting blueberry volumes to dip slightly in December, but we will most likely only see an improvement in prices from the middle parts of January next year again. This upward trend can continue into April next year, where it's likely to peak due to low expected volumes over that period. Watermelons are also under pressure, and it's mostly due to very high volumes at the moment. So that's your AMT Weekly Fresh Produce Outlook, made possible by Villa Crop Protection. Remember to follow AMT on all social media platforms for daily market updates. And we'll see you next week with the latest market trends again.